Good day, everybody. I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade kindergarten to grade 2 English lesson on reflexive pronouns. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of English language arts. We're doing grade kindergarten to grade 2. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to our chapter of reflexive pronoun. All right. So our chapter is reflexive pronouns. Our subject is English language arts. We're doing kindergarten to grade 2. And in the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of reflexive pronouns, it is to choose between personal and reflexive pronoun. And then we're going to use reflexive pronouns. All right. So when it comes to reflexive pronouns, right? Reflexive pronouns, it is pronouns that end in self or it ends in selves. And we are going to look at a few examples of reflexive pronouns that ends in self as well as selves. And when it comes to a reflexive pronoun, right? A reflexive pronoun, it needs to refer back. It needs to refer back to the subject. And we're going to look at a few examples of how we can use reflexive pronouns. And like I said, it needs to refer back to the subject. So we have singular subjects and we have plural subjects. So keeping in mind that it needs to refer back to the subject. All right. And if we look at an example, right, of not even examples, if we look at the different reflexive pronouns, and remember we said that it needs to refer back to the subject, and then we can say, so if we look at our singular subjects, right, if we look at the singular subjects, so yeah, we have our singular subjects first. These words, right, which is I, you, she, he, and it, needs to refer back to myself, yourself, herself, himself, or itself, or other way around. The reflexive pronoun needing to refer back to I. And if we look at an example of that, right, then we can say, it's like saying, if you look at the word I, then you can maybe say, I did something by myself, right? Meaning that you did something by yourself, or I did something for me, like for myself, right? And that I refers back to myself. The same with you. Did you do that by yourself? It is something that refers back to the reflexive pronoun or back to the subject. She took the bus by herself. He cooked the dinner by himself and it did something by itself, which means that these words need to refer back to the subject. These reflexive pronouns, myself, if we make mention of the word myself needs to refer back to I. Yourself needs to refer back to you, herself back to she, himself to he, and itself to it. That is reflexive pronouns. And we said reflexive pronouns, it is pronouns that end in self or selves. Self, when it is singular, when it has a singular subject, and selves, when it has a plural subject. And if we look at the subject that is plural, if we look at the plural subject and the reflexive pronoun, remember, we said that our plural subject needs to refer to back to our reflexive pronoun, or the reflexive pronoun needs to refer back to the plural subject. So if we make mention of we, and then it needs to refer back to ourselves. You, yourselves, they, themselves. Right? That is reflexive pronouns. All right. So remember, a reflexive pronoun, it is pronouns that end in self and in or in selves. And remember, we say that a reflexive pronoun, right, can only be used to refer to the subject, whether it is a singular subject or a plural subject. It does not, a reflexive pronoun does not refer to someone else. It refers back to yourself. That is a reflexive pronoun. All right, and here it says reflexive pronouns, right? It is used to refer back to the subject of the sentence, and we made mention of singular subjects as well as plural subjects, and they should match the subject. So the reflexive pronouns are used to refer back to the subject of the sentence, and they should match the subject. And if we look at an example, right? Remember your reflexive pronoun, it needs to match your subject. And when we say a reflexive pronoun needs to match the subject, for example, I myself needs to match you yourself, she herself, he himself, and it itself. That needs to match. The same with we ourselves, you yourselves, and they themselves. And if we look at an example, right? Here it says, we helped. I'm going to underline the subject and I'm going to underline the reflexive pronouns. It says, we helped ourselves to more, to some more soup. So we helped ourselves to some more soup. And as you can see, we, or let's say ourselves basically, it refers back to we. All right. And if we look at another example, it says Amy drives herself to work every morning. So, Amy, as you can see, Amy is a noun, right? So, Amy is a noun, and we can even replace Amy, which is a noun, with a pronoun. All right. And we said Amy, if we were to replace Amy, right, with a pronoun, then we can say she drives herself to work every morning. right. And then we have also the subject of the sentence, right? If the subject is a noun, somebody's name. All right. So if there's a noun, you can just replace that noun with a pronoun, and that will make it more easier. And if we have a subject that refers to something else, all right. And remember the difference between a reflexive pronoun and a personal pronoun, right? The reflexive pronoun, it refers back. All right. So now we're going to go to a plus students.ca. Sorry. And then we're going to choose between personal and reflexive pronouns. And remember, your reflexive pronoun needs to refer back to the subject. All right. So now we're going to a plus students.ca. And we're going to choose between personal and reflexive pronouns. Guys, before we continue, are you guys still fine? Do you understand reflexive pronouns now? All right. And we said when it comes to reflexive pronouns, right? A reflexive pronoun. All right. So now we said, remember, we said that the reflexive pronoun needs to refers back to the subject. We have a singular subject and we have the plural subject. Remember, if I refer to something, then I must say, I did something by myself. Did you pick up that ball? Yes, I picked up the ball by myself. Did he do something? Yes, he did it by himself. That is what we mean when we talk about reflexive pronouns. So now we're going to our test. Here it says, I call, do we say I call you more often or I call yourself more often? Remember, if we're referring to someone else or something else, and then that's a pronoun, a personal pronoun. But if we're referring back to yourself or ourself or myself, and then remember it needs to match, and then that is a reflexive pronoun. Is it? Oh, okay. So here it says select the best pronoun to complete the sentence. I call you more often, option one, or do we say I call yourself more often, often two? Which one is correct? So we need to choose the correct option. Which one is correct? Option one, I call you more often, or option two, I call yourself more often. And if we were to choose the correct option, right? Then we will say, remember, if you are referring to someone else or something else, which will be a personal pronoun, and then we say option one, because I call you more often. All right, if we look at the next one, the next one says, he kept, do we say he kept yourself busy all day, option one? Or do we say he kept himself, option two, busy all day? Which one is correct? He kept yourself busy all day, or he kept himself busy all day? We need to select the best pronoun. Which one is correct? So which one is the correct answer? We need to select the answer, the pronoun that is being used. And if we were to choose the correct pronoun, right, and then we can say he kept himself, because himself refers back to he. So he kept himself busy all day, which is option two. Let's look at the next one. The next one says, sometimes I sing to myself, or do we say sometimes I sing to me? So sometimes I sing to myself, option one, or do we say sometimes I sing to me, option two? So we need to choose the correct option. So we say sometimes I sing to myself, option one, or we say sometimes I sing to me. We need to choose the correct option, the correct pronoun. And if we were to choose the correct option, um, who else is can't hear me because I feel like I'm speaking loud. Okay, I'm gonna move the laptop closer to me. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now when I like when I'm talking now? Like so it says sometimes I sing to myself, or do we say sometimes I sing to me? Can you hear me now, or who else can't hear me? It's just the one person, or everybody that cannot hear me? If you maybe restart, or I don't know, maybe try restarting your PC or something. All right. So if we were to choose the correct pronoun, then we can say sometimes I sing to myself, or I sing to me. Sing to myself. Because remember, we said that myself refers back to I, right? All right, thank you. All right, let's go to the next one. It says, it makes, do we say it makes us laugh every time? Or do we say it makes ourselves laugh every time? We need to choose the correct option. It says it makes us, option one, laugh every time. Or do we say it makes option two, ourselves, laugh every time? Which one is the correct pronoun within that sentence? All right. So I'm glad that you guys can hear me. So let us choose the correct option, the pronoun. Is our answer option one, or is it option two? And if we were to choose the correct option, right, then we can say that it makes us option one, because we can't say ourselves because it needs to refer to something else. So it makes us laugh every time. So option one is correct. Yes, well done. Us is correct. Guys, before I continue, does everybody know the difference between a reflexive pronoun as well as the personal pronoun? Or at least the reflexive pronoun? Does everybody understand reflexive pronouns before we continue? Does everybody understand reflexive pronouns before we continue? All right. Who else? Anybody who does not understand so that I can explain again? I literally want everybody to know what reflexive pronouns are before we finish the lesson. All right. Okay. So as long as everybody, understands what reflexive pronouns are. Okay, so we're going to continue, right? So now it says, all right. The next one says he helped. He. Do we say he helped myself fix the flat tire? Or do we say he helped me fix the flat tire? Which one is correct? He helped myself fix a flat tire, that's option one, or he helped me fix a flat tire, option two. So we need to choose the correct option. And if we were to choose the correct option, then yes, we can say he helped me fix the flat tire. Right? He helped me. So that is a personal pronoun. He helped me. So well done. Me is correct. Let's look at the next one. It says, I make breakfast for me every morning. Or do we say I make breakfast for myself every morning? I make breakfast for me every morning, option one, or I make breakfast for myself every morning. Which one is correct? And if we were to choose the correct option, right? Remember, if we look at the reflexive pronoun, then a reflexive pronoun, it refers back to Let's say the I refers back to myself. So we can then say, I made breakfast for myself every morning. Remember, the I is the subject that refers back to myself, which is the reflexive pronoun. I refer back to myself as a reflexive pronoun. So I do something for myself, right? Remember, that is a reflexive pronoun. If something refers back to itself, then it's a reflexive pronoun. If it shows that something is being done to someone else, then that is a personal pronoun, right? So, for example, we'll say, I did something for myself. He did something by himself. She did something by herself. You did something by yourself. It did something by itself, right? That is reflexive pronouns. It needs to refer back to one another. The reflexive pronoun needs to refer back to the subject, right? But if but if something refers to something else or someone else, then that is a personal pronoun, right? All right. Everybody still understand? Let's go on. It says, did she dress did she dress itself this morning, or did she dress herself this morning? So option one, itself, or option two, herself. Did she dress itself this morning, or did she dress herself this morning? So option one, itself, or option two, herself. Which one is correct? Or what is the correct option? Do we say that she dressed itself this morning, or she dressed herself this morning? Remember, that is the reflexive pronoun that needs to refer back to either the reflexive pronoun or to the subject. So which one do you think? This is the last one. All right. And if we were to choose the correct option, right? And then we will say option two. Did she dress herself this morning? Because remember, herself refers back to she. All right. So this is now the end of our lesson on reflexive pronouns. Reflexive pronouns, right? It ends in self or it ends in selves, right? A reflexive pronoun, right? It needs to refer back to the subject. We have singular subjects and we have plural subjects, right? When it comes to reflexive pronoun. So, for example, I needs to refer back to myself, her, she to herself, he to himself, it to itself, you to yourself, as well as you to yourselves, they to themselves, and so on. All right, so this is the end of our lesson. Thank you very much, Grade twos for joining the class. I really hope that you do have a better understanding of what reflexive pronouns are. In our next lesson, I think we're just going to continue with reflexive pronouns just for us to be reminded again about what reflexive pronouns are. But for now, have a good weekend further. Goodbye.